episode number 19. Hi, how are you?
Good, good. I guess we're now the drinking age in Canada.
Is
Um
that really Canada's 19, not 18?
I don't know. It could be different province to province. I really haven't kept up with it, but I just want to say hi everyone. I'm Anne Ahola Ward.
No, you're very smart. I forgot. Yeah, I forgot to
Yes.
introduce myself as well. I'm John Boitnott. Hi,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yes. John has recently transitioned from a sparkle fort to a more stark and sober brick wall.
Yes,
Um,
I am located in a downtown San Francisco building that has brick walls like this, and I'm actually not, but that's a pretty fairly
Because
typical.
no one would know. I think that's the point. No one would know. Keep
Yeah,
keeping your edge. So I love that we purposely had to not talk about it so we could talk about it.
which
Obviously, Led becoming Led Zeppelin at IMAX. You told me
uh,
about it last week, and then I instantly bought tickets because I don't know how that wasn't on my radar. I'm a huge fan, having seen Robert Plant 3 times.
yeah.
One of those with you at the Greek Theater, which was a magical, mystical night. Um,
Don't forget the time many years ago when we saw Jason Bonham, John Bonham's son, playing with
oh
hearts.
yes, with Heart at America's Pavilion during America's Cup.
Yeah.
That was amazing too. That was his that even though we've seen Robert Plant, I think that concert was the closest either of us will see to Led Zeppelin in our lives because Ann Wilson just powered it out with the vocals.
Oh
Jason
yeah.
Bonham. But I think number one, and I'm just going to say right now, there could be spoilers. This is I mean, we're talking about something, a movie that starts taking place in the 60s. So I think you're probably, if you're aware of Led Zeppelin at all, you're aware of some of the high points here. So I'm not making any apologies about spoilers.
Yeah. No. Feel free. Spoiler away.
Because big internet, you're going to get it spoiled somewhere. Um, I was surprised that Jason Bonham wasn't in it at all because he sort of has become over the years a stand-in for his dad. But I kind of liked how they did it. I liked that they had the interview with John Bonham that no one had ever seen, and I think the sweetest moment for me was when they were playing him, and you could see John Paul Jones reacting and plenty responding. See their responses to their friend and just a genuine warmth
Yeah.
and how sweet it was. I mean, the thing is, let's be real. If there's Roger Ebert said basically, look, if there's any kind of documentary that's going to be about Led Zeppelin, it's going to be with their permission because they own their music. So
Yeah.
so sure, and I think the movie held true to what it was billed as, which is the becoming.
Yep.
It
Yep.
left you wanting more because they end at Zeppelin 2 and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
now
It
you're
didn't.
yeah, now you're a dominant force in the world. We want to see it, but you saw that, right? If you were alive or if you were a fan at any point in your life, you saw what they became. But the becoming of, I think, was they were very specific and deliberate in that, and I think that made
Yep.
it so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I mean, I have a little bit more of a. I mean, look, they. I got. What do I want to say about it?
Where do you even start?
Yeah, I mean, it's too much. There's just too much to talk about, really. I think that just they only want to highlight their beginning. They want to ignore their end. They want to ignore their middle, which were more lackluster. The middle wasn't lackluster so much, but it really went downhill at the very end. I mean, yeah. So they've done that with a lot of stuff. When they there was It Might Get Loud, the Jimmy Page, the movie that was actually produced by Jimmy Page, that had The Edge in it and Jack White in it, and that only showed sort of clips from the early part of Led Zeppelin, right? It's just that's what you do. You highlight your best stuff. So it was. For me, it was a little short. I went with a 21-year-old. I got to stop doing things with 21-year-olds because his first comment was, "Wait, this is a documentary." He thought he was going to get something like the Queen movie, where it was going to, or the Johnny Cash movie, or the Ray Charles movie, where it was like not a documentary but a dramatization of their life, etc. And it was not that. It was just a documentary. So um, for him, it was difficult to sit through long psychedelic 9-minute songs. For me, that's exactly why I came, and why most of the rest of the people in
Hmm.
the in
A lot of
the
gray hair,
audience
a lot of gray
wanted.
hair in that theater. Yeah, a lot of like tiny little ponytails.
Yeah,
There,
a
there
lot
was
of silver-haired, overweight,
a
drinking
lot of
beer, 70 years old, and that's great. That's fine too. And for me,
yeah.
I had a 21-year-old with me, and he was like, "Yeah, I grew up with my dad playing this, and I was in the back seat of the car, and I do like their music, but wow, I wasn't expecting such like an in-depth thing on them." So, but overall, it was great. It was perfect. I loved it. I'm glad they did it. They needed to get like an official documentary sort of from them out, chronicling their early years. And some of the video was really great. Like the Royal Albert Hall video at the end was like they were just so tight and so good, and they would just clearly knock the socks off everyone. And that is
Yeah,
Led
and
Zeppelin really reaching their heights. So
I
it
also
was good.
thought, yeah, I did. I agree, and I think John Paul Jones being like, my dad was really proud of me. Like that
Yeah.
was cute.
That
That
was
was
so. Yeah.
so sweet. They were just
he,
so.
he got all the laughs. If there were not all the laughs, but he got a lot of laughs. If there were laughs, then he got a lot of them with his little comments that he'd make.
Yeah, I thought Jimmy Page was almost like giddy and childlike in some of it.
Yeah,
Uh, Robert Plant was, the wandering poet. You know,
yeah,
I, I enjoyed the breakdown of like who wrote what and sort of those deeper bits that you don't often get. I mean, you kind of knew going into it, if you're a fan, that Jimmy Page had had previous success.
yeah,
Uh, John Paul Jones was a studio musician. Like, none of that was new, but like some of their childhood backgrounds and all of that, like, it was a very deep dive. There was
yeah.
like a 9 or 10 year old kid in our row,
Oh,
and I'd say that last hour, he was just like,
yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
running
Even the
around.
20, even the 21-year-old who I was with, he just started to lose consciousness like at 90 minutes in,
Okay,
and
okay, I
but
get
then
it.
like a big number would kick in, and he'd be like, "Well, he'd be
Yeah,
back."
but
But
I mean, if you are even remotely a fan, I would go see it. Maybe you don't need to see it in IMAX. Maybe the regular theater. Maybe at home. I don't think you'll seeing the interviews of these living legends and watching them watch some of their own footage and hearing John Bonham, like those are
yeah,
very precious, sweet fan moments that you don't get from artists that were famous in the 60s and 70s. You don't get those sweet moments that you do with a Taylor Swift who's woven herself into your social media and your consciousness and done
yeah,
so beautifully. Like her fans love her.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you don't get that with this older music, and so I felt like that was that glimpse of that we get to get as the old people. I
No,
mean,
yeah, there was,
I felt like I was the second youngest in that theater, but
yeah.
um I didn't care because it was a story I wanted to hear. So I really
Yep,
do think it was beautifully done, and I would definitely watch it again. I probably will watch it again, and I've told anyone I know that's a fan to
yep.
go watch it. Um,
I'll watch it again once it gets to my laptop.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I want to watch it again at home. And I will say the one last comment I want to make, something my husband said, which I thought was interesting because I was thinking the same thing. And some of that damaged footage,
Mhm.
I was thinking like, why didn't you use AI to fix this?
Well, the thing that I didn't understand about that was that I have seen that footage before, and I've seen it on YouTube. It's available on YouTube right now, and it's perfect. It's not perfect, but it looks great. It doesn't have any of the issues that's the Black Summer Mountainside. I forget the name of the
Mhm.
song. It's one of
It's
my
almost
favorite
like they're
songs.
trying to make a point about that somehow. But that
Yeah,
was one thing where I was like, dude, there's tools to fix this. But I think they were just
yeah.
trying to highlight, hey, this was found. Hey, this is damaged. Hey, you're lucky you're seeing
And there
this.
was a lot of good. There was a lot of good, found footage there that I didn't know existed, because there was that the DVD, the concert
Here's
DVD, like
footage
20
they
years
didn't
ago.
know existed.
Yeah,
Footage they didn't know existed, which
yeah,
made it so powerful.
yeah.
Like, oh my god, that concert! Like, seeing the way they did it, seeing it, some of it through their eyes, I thought was really special.
I would have liked. I mean, I would have liked a
It's
version that
not
had a
bad.
narr- I
You
would have
got
liked. I would have liked a version that had a narrator. It's fine that they kind of narrated it with everything they said, and there wasn't really anyone else in there. And I get that they wanted to go for that, but I kind of would like a real heavyweight narrator if they got somebody great to be the voice that you kept going back to tell the story a little bit more. But overall, it was fine. It was good.
Like a David. If I had my druthers, it would be, it would be like a David Attenborough,
Oh yeah, yeah,
or
totally.
like someone from one of those wildlife documentaries.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, beautifully done, beautifully said. Uh, just hugs and kisses all the way. I think such a great film. I'm glad they made it. I'm glad
yep.
they did it, and I really was very pleased how they handled John Bonham.
Oh yeah, yeah. Him being able to,
Like
that
uh,
interview.
yeah, not just throwing Jason Bonham in there and being like, "Hey, tell us about that dad you don't remember much anymore." Like that.
Yeah. Although it would have been great to have more of him,
I
but
felt
yeah,
like they did a good, tasteful job of bringing someone who died, in the 1980 to life in the documentary through his own voice, which I thought was really well done.
I
Uh,
also wonder if there will be like a sequel to it at all or something like that, where they move on to the following years, the years that came after. But I think that they shy away so much from talking about those kind of really, hedonistic experiences that they don't want to sully their legacy and they don't want to actually have much on that. So, what are you going to do?
well, right. I mean, we look through the past with today's lens, right? And so some of it is maybe gray area, some of it is maybe not.
Yeah.
There have been different stories, and then it would get into maybe more of the sex and drugs part of it than they would care for.
Yeah.
I said to somebody recently, well, maybe they didn't do that because they didn't want to get canceled, and the
Yeah.
response was, well, they're not cancelable.
Maybe
They can't be canceled, and maybe that's right. Maybe
that's right.
maybe that's true because some of these stories have come out, and we all read Hammer of the Gods, Joe
Yeah.
Fishman. So maybe that's wow beyond reproach. But
Do
maybe
we
they
want to move on to? I mean, it's hard to leave Led Zeppelin and go do humdrum tech stuff,
can't
but
quit you, baby.
you can't. I can't quit you, baby. But
We're
yeah,
gonna put you down for a while.
which of the fantastic stories that we discussed would you love to talk about?
I don't
What about
even
DeepSeek?
know.
I mean, DeepSeek is a big deal. I mean, obviously, is that really? Sorry to just leave Led Zeppelin. I'll miss you, Led Zeppelin, but we've got to talk about tech
What a
stuff
beautiful, safe
now.
place that was for me
But
to.
DeepSeek, is that really is that penetrating deeply into the are people using that wide? I actually I tried using it for a little bit, but then I stopped right away and just went back to my Chat GPT and Claude. So it's like I'm not too sure about DeepSeek. And was it real? There was some doubt as to whether or not it really was cheap. That they did it on the cheap. Did they really do it on the cheap, or they
Well,
just saying they did it?
nobody knows. So there are a couple things that made DeepSeek so amazing. It was the speed with which it was developed, the lightweightness, how lightweight the models were, the fact that they did this asterisk without US AI chips or the top AI chips.
Right.
No one really knows what chips they used.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think the fact that they open sourced it is probably the most interesting part.
Yeah.
Um, because that has big implications to the industry. But I think from the US perspective, what it did was to maybe, like the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the screen, it maybe kind of showed the man behind the screen a little bit and maybe showed that Nvidia isn't as bulletproof as
Yeah.
we were all thinking, right? So I think from that perspective, it's good. Do is it great that they're based in China and there's a lot of cloak and daggers and what's happening, with your data, those sorts of things. I mean, certain governmental agencies have banned it in the US because of the fact that the security basically how vulnerable they are to cyber attacks and other things. That came out pretty early. So I don't know. I think a lot of it remains to be seen, but it has changed the conversation quite a bit, and maybe that you know maybe Nvidia can't just enjoy sitting on their laurels.
There's this.
There's a wake up call. There's a wake up call.
Yeah, there's this guy named Ed Zitron who I think we both have met in the past. Who used to live in the Bay Area, and now I'm not even sure where he lives. Maybe Texas, like you. I don't even know, but he's sort of an internet PR, all things Silicon Valley criticizer and pundit. and it has some interesting things to say that can be helpful and useful and interesting sometimes. But he was basically saying that it sort of reveals that you don't really need these chips, that it sort of like shows that it's a smoke and mirrors operation on the part of the Sam Altmans and the Nvidias of the world, where they're like, oh, you need these chips, in order to, you know, have a LLM that works really well, and you got to spend billions and well, do you really? Do you really? You know, can this just now be done on the cheap? I mean, what's let's say what's your take on that? I mean, would
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, people are already nervous about Blackwell, and I think everyone's sort of relying on Nvidia, and
yeah,
it's been. I think it's a good thing. I think that there definitely was a lot of hype, and the timing of it. You know, they released it on January 20th. I think it was definitely there's a little bit of psychological warfare to it, to the point that it's almost political, especially if you ask it questions about, you know, the Chinese government.
mm,
I think you really just have to sort of take the good with the bad and realize that um, a shaking up of this new technology is not a bad thing, because there are assumptions we have all made here in the United States that may not be true.
yeah,
It may not be true that we need all this processing power. It may not be true that things have to take as much, consume as much power and as much as we thought. And so I don't think it's a bad thing. I think we should welcome the competition. I mean, that's what our own vice president said on the global stage, right? Is that, yeah, we're just going to do this, and not going to, you know, we're going to go it alone. And so I think that that's naive. We're not going to do this alone. We're not living in a vacuum. But I do think that people look to the US as leaders, and I think this is going to force us and our developers and all of these teams to have to step it up.
yeah. Well, you know, uh, that leads me to look when we're talking about teams that are not performing well. It leads me to the Meta layoff situation. I mean, I had a couple
Mhm.
friends last year who lost their jobs at Meta, and you know, Meta was so apologetic last year about losing about letting go of folks, but now all of a sudden, no longer apologetic and just lets go of 3,600 people. One of the things that was kind of weird about it was they were supposedly low performance folks at Meta who were losing their jobs, and some of the people were talking online about how they never received any report that there were any issues with their performance, and so suddenly they've lost their jobs, and there's hardly any like sort of discussion around that. It's just I don't know. Things have changed now, and it seems like you can just let go of people and have it not be as big of a deal. I don't know if I'm.
Well, it's already a class action lawsuit.
Yeah.
Which was it? Was it a firing? Was it a layoff?
Yeah.
Because you've couched it as a firing of low performers, when really you told them it was a layoff in a mass email. And so you didn't give them those packages that they should have gotten as layoffs. And you've also, I mean, if you're hitting the job market as an ex Meta person and the national news has reported that they are cutting the weak links,
Yeah.
that is going to put you at a significant disadvantage in the job
Where
market.
where were the weak links last year when they were laying off other people? I mean, there weren't any weak links last year per se. Or at
It
least
was
they
a
weren't.
very inconsistent thing to do for such a calculated company that's
Yeah.
sort of reeling for where its place is in this market, right? Because we've spent a bajillion dollars on the metaverse. Well, that clearly didn't pan out. We're kind of a leader in the AI space, but kind of not. Nobody wanted to use our AI chat friends and the WhatsApp apps that just were nonsense. Like, I tried talking to Snoop Dogg and is an AI, and it just kind of creeped me out.
Yeah.
Um, they don't really, you know, they've never really transcended beyond what they are, except for by acquisition, and so they're
Yeah.
just trying to find their footing in this AI arms race, and I don't know that they have.
Yeah, no, I do know that they have the Ray Bans coming, and supposedly that's going to be a big deal. I did see a Super Bowl
I mean, I'm
commercial.
buying them. I'm
Yeah,
buying them for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Definitely going to check them out. I mean, it's we'll see. So it sounds like in the future there will be, maybe there will be opportunity for them to expand beyond where they have been, and not through acquisition, maybe. But yeah, we'll see.
I mean, they're
Meta,
not going out of business anytime soon. They're
no,
still
yeah,
they're still a very powerful tech company. I'm not crying any tears for them. They're just sort of, along with Google, sort of willows in the wind, kind
yeah.
of going along with where the administration is taking them when really it would be nice to see more of, companies behave like Apple and making a stand and even McKinsey came back and was like, we're going to just do what we want to do for hiring.
Yep.
We like
Costco,
you. Yeah.
Costco.
Yeah. So I think when we look back on this time, not to get political, but when we look back on this time, I think it's going to be noted.
Oh, you know how I have such an aversion to that. I never get political, so
Yes, exactly.
I
Exactly. Because,
don't want to offend me. But
no, we're delicate wallflowers here. I would say too, just to kind of close out the AI discussion, the company that I'm sort of rooting for now more than the others is Anthropic, and
oh
it's
yeah,
it's because I like the CEO. Everything he says is
Mm.
sort of passionate and lays out his foundation of his arguments very well, and they seem to be operating in a more ethical way. And so one of the things they've done to signal that, and maybe they're just better at putting out those signals,
I
is
love Claude. By the way, I use Claude
yeah,
more than I mean, I'm using a lot of Chat GPT, but I'm also using Claude quite
it
quite a
feels
bit.
yeah,
So
it feels like a more expensive sort of experience. Like it's a little more fence, which,
yeah,
which I like. But I would say that their recent move of giving a $20,000 bounty to anybody who can essentially jailbreak their stuff or find security vulnerabilities, like that signals to me that they're a company that wants to do things right, fix the holes. Although I would say the market value of that would be higher than $20,000, but it's enough. It's
yeah,
enough to garner interest. And so, um, with them, you feel like you're in on it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I think
yeah.
that's the other argument to be made for DeepSeek is that they show you what's called the chain of thought. So when it gives
That's right.
you when
Yeah,
DeepSeek gives you results, it's actually telling you how it arrived at the conclusion, which makes the end user go, "Oh, I feel included." So I think Anthropic's done a really good job of making us as end users feel like we're along the journey with them versus them taking us for a ride, which is a huge difference. It's just like the basics of consent on the internet.
yeah. It's sort of like a more bespoke experience,
Mhm.
Although I would say, like, Chat GPT has done something pretty good recently, which is to make all of the conversations uh, connected, so that if you have a bunch of conversations about one subject, and because it's gotten too big, you had to switch over to another like conversation, that it will remember everything that you talked about in the other conversations, and you can even ask it to, hey, ChatGPT, give me a tell me all about myself. Tell me the 5 to 10 personality traits you see about me or something, and it'll take a look at everything we've talked about and everything I've said and come up with something. So, which is great. Which I've tried to do with Claude. It does not do that yet. Maybe I'm not paying like the enterprise version or whatever. I'm just paying the $20 a month version. So maybe I'm not getting the full functionality. But yeah, it's sort of like they're putting up little walls in Claude, which I don't like. But they do such a good job. It is pretty intelligent that overall I still use it quite a lot. So
I mean, that's inevitable, right?
yeah,
That's inevitable when, as a product evolves and develops, there's a freemium will split off from the premium, and I mean, you're even seeing that with Perplexity. They now have a $20 user experience that gives you like supposedly more options of which models you're using to search, and it shows you, oh, it's R1. Oh, it's this. And that's kind of cool. I mean, I have been a fangirl of Perplexity since the start, although I don't like their PR. I think that
yeah,
they've trying to bandwagon it so hard that it was like too much. But they've combated that by just putting out a really good product. So
Yeah, I mean, didn't
the complexity.
yeah, they have some sort of a haven't they established like relationships with certain news organizations to get information from? I think like
Yeah, directly brokered. I think partnership. I think I want to say the New York Times.
yeah, well, I was thinking Fox News too or something along those lines, but I'm
I
not
mean,
sure. I
those
could
are
be making that up.
top tier publications. Like they're going direct to the publisher, which is I think what needs to happen so that we can
That's a
safeguard.
great idea. That's one of the ways to. I mean, you don't want journalism to die, so this is a way to forestall that. Because I'm not going to say
No,
it's not going to be a panacea and fix everything, but I think it would help to keep revenue coming into CNN, whatever it may be, or the New
anything
York
that
Times.
can, yes, exactly. Anything that can extend the life cycle of independent journalism, I'm generally a fan of.
Yeah.
Uh, we need that perspective, we need that voice, and we definitely need companies to step out and do these things that are on the ethical end of the spectrum. Uh,
Well, let's talk about bric-a-brac. I'll start off bric-a-brac with I have a friend in Santa Barbara who yeah, she was my weed dealer. I'm just going to say it. She was my weed dealer. And so me and her me and her
oh my, we in California. Ho, ho,
yeah,
ho.
back in the day, she had access to, so we're talking 25 years ago, she had access to the really good stuff which not everyone had access to back then. But anyway, regardless, me and her do a movie night like every 2-3 weeks. We watch we go to this one network called the Criterion Channel, which she bought the subscription to, and so me and her watch it. And we have seen various old films. Last night, it's not just older classic films. It also has like newer stuff. It had 2-3 weeks ago we saw Basquiat, which was the story of the artist Basquiat.
Oh, I know. Yes, Andy and his relationship with Andy Warhol, and
David Bowie playing Andy Warhol too in the movie,
oh,
and
I know you.
yeah,
Yes,
it's really good.
it
I don't
was
want to get
very
too.
well done. And back then, I remember being like, "Whoa, this is so edgy," but it really tastefully done. And David Bowie made a great Andy Warhol. He probably
Oh
knew
yeah,
Andy Warhol. I'm assuming.
perfect, because he knew him and he knew exactly how to behave and how to act like him. I forgot the guy's name. Jeffrey Wright played Basquiat, who, by the way, went out with Madonna for a few months, which makes him even more. Madonna went out with Tupac, Basquiat, obviously Sean Penn. She was really Warren Beatty. She was just all over the place with all these
What's
guys, right?
the tattoo? What's his face? Who loves North Korea? The basketball player, Dennis
Oh, Dennis Rodman.
Rodman. That was like
His
a
little tattoos. North
what?
Korea. Yeah, no. So Basquiat. Anyway, saw Basquiat, and last night we saw It Happened One Night, which has Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert, who are like Brad Pitt, Evangelina Jolie, but 1934, and
Mm.
it's like a madcap comedy from 1934 that is funny and holds up. And they are on a road trip, a couple on a road trip, trying to escape from people. It's pretty. It's funny. It's hilarious. It's good. And Clark Gable took his shirt off in it, which was mind blowing at the time.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's my premiere installment of a bric-a-brac. How are you doing on the bric-a-brac front?
Hmm.
Have you done things other than tech besides Led Zeppelin? I mean, we can
Yeah,
talk more about Led Zeppelin
yeah.
if you
I mean, we could go back to Zeppelin on. It's a safe place for me. I mean, I definitely have leaned into the bric-a-brac. I have my like entertainment things I watch, and then I have my like I need to go to sleep things I watch. Um,
want. Things to tire me out.
yeah, things that are non-threatening that won't end up making my dreams scary.
Comfort TV.
Yeah, so like Moonlighting is a
Ooh.
show I started rewatching because Bruce Willis, what a fox! Oh my
Yeah.
god, Sybil Shepherd,
Sybil Shepherd, baby.
two sexy top of their game people, and I'm trying to identify the part where, in reading about the show, apparently Sybil Shepherd, was the bigger star in the beginning of the
Huh?
show. He was relatively unknown, and then Die Hard was successful, and then the tables turned a little bit because that was such a big movie, and then it was like, uh-oh. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, without looking it up, at what point that has happened show wise.
Mm.
I'm guessing probably towards the end of maybe towards the middle. There were only 4 seasons, but so that's a really good one. Um, I have my comfort shows. I think we all do.
Law and Order for you?
Yeah, of
That's
course.
your big one.
If I watch, I don't usually watch Law and Order. I just have it on and I sort of
Yeah,
absorb bits and pieces of it. And I would say if it's been concurrently more than 1 or 2 days in a row of that, I generally need to just stop and go, okay, maybe you're depressed. Because it just is like too much. But that
yeah,
that is for sure the ultimate comfort show for me. And I don't know why. It's like a police procedural, but it just is something that is like caught me. It
yeah.
caught me, and it just
It scratches that itch.
yeah. I would say I have not been able to finish Netflix's Virgin River.
What's
The
Virgin River,
Virgin
dare I ask?
River is essentially like Hallmark softcore for ladies. It's essentially like pretty hot and heavy, steamy with like beautiful nature scenes of British Columbia where it's filmed. And so it's
Okay.
like, ooh, look at this beautiful nature. Ooh, steamy in the bedroom, sexy results. So it's like a good combination of that. But this
Oh,
season, I guess they've decided to focus more on feelings. And so I've had multiple friends tell me like,
yeah.
I can't get through this. So that one was abandoned.
Here's a random
Neither
question.
brick nor brack, by the way.
It's neither brick nor brack. You appear on TV segments periodically. When is your next TV segment, and or what was your most recent one? Before we
My
start to head out for show number 19.
Yes. So my most recent segment was on ABC in Sacramento
Ooh.
this Tuesday.
I wish you lived in Sacramento. This Texas thing, man. I know it's good
No,
because you got to think.
I got my start in Sacramento. I mean, my
Yep.
first was CNN, and that was filmed all over. But Sacramento really put me on. Fox and ABC put me on a lot, and really where I cut my teeth on live TV. And so this was about DeepSeek, just a basic primer,
Mm,
because people need to know from all walks of life, what is this? Is this safe to use? How do I use this? Where do I download the app for this? Like, and I think it's a really important role that we have to play as technologists in helping people who are not as technological understand why technology matters and how it can help your life, because this is how we prevent people from being left behind. Because when technology is inaccessible, it becomes limiting, and that's the opposite of what it should be.
yep.
It should be allowing, paraplegics to play video games all night. It should be,
Yep.
replacing bionic arms and, doing the amazing things we know it can be. But if you don't understand it, or you don't have the ability to connect to the internet, like, you're lost. Parts of life are lost to you, and I
Hmm.
don't think that that's right, which is one of my major reasons I do TV, because I feel like that's my part to play in all of this, is
Yeah.
helping translate it to the normals.
Yeah. No, for sure. And it's there definitely is still the generation out there that isn't as up on what's going on, and it's good to provide that information to them, especially the ones that watch TV more.
Well, yeah, and even just younger people who aren't aware of it yet. I mean, you'd be
Us.
amazed how many people our age are just like, yeah, I don't. They kind of throw up their hands, because unless you have a direct reason to use AI, why would you, right? Why would you
Yep.
care? Like, some people just don't get it, and so they just let themselves slowly get iced out. And so, like anything else, it's hard to care if you don't see the reason.
Yeah, it's good to participate in in keeping the scene filled with people who know more and more about these things. So
Well, it keeps me sharp too.
yeah,
Selfish.
no, there's that. That's important. That's just as important as anything.
Yeah, and I try to read as much news as I can stomach, and I try to, I have a nice like information diet of various social media platforms, but most of
Yeah,
my information now comes to me through newsletters. Um,
yeah. You've sort of you've curated your own, and I've done the same thing. That's kind of what needs to happen. My thing is that I enjoy some stuff so much that I let's just continue receiving more of that, and I end up with too many things being thrown at me. So
Mhm.
you got to sort of manage it as you go. You can't just have one thing, or you can't just have a ton of things. You have to whittle it down to not too many. I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you can and should curate your information diet, regardless of whether or not you're Republican or Libertarian or just don't care about politics. Like, you have to carefully curate how and where you get your information, no matter what you believe, because that way you can keep yourself from getting depressed or angry.
Yeah.
You can stay informed in the way that works for you. And I think that that's important, especially now when things just seem a little wah, wah for all of
That's a good description of it. Yeah.
us. I mean, my new thing I've been saying is just like shenanigans.
Yeah.
Shenanigans. So I thought it was
TLDR, shenanigans. Yep.
shenanigans. Like I find myself going to the BBC for
To
news.
the BBC.
Yeah, I like seeing the outside perspectives of what's happening here. And so but that's a choice I've made for my own mental health to just sort of not get mired in what may or may not be politically motivated information
Yeah.
reporting. And so I think, you know, give yourself that outlet for just garbage Instagram reels and,
Yeah.
give yourself the right diet, whether it's half potato chips or not. Um,
Yeah. And
we have
hopefully
very good. I wish there was a way for us to share with our viewers here the amazing reels we send each other. Uh, I mean, I
oh
think
yeah. No, I wish that was
it's pretty
possible.
good. Yeah,
Yep.
I know.
As
Someone,
you were saying that, we got an earthquake here in California in the Bay Area. It's actually the second earthquake we've gotten today. One was small, and that one was actually big and shook the whole house here. So
oh
yeah.
wow. So I want to close with one funny thing I did for Valentine's, which
Okay.
I think you'll appreciate because you are an Anne fan.
Okay.
So
37 minutes.
yes, so we'll close it out with this story. So Valentine's Day is upon us, and being married for 117 years, I feel like I need to do something, but I don't want to do something like over the toppy. I'm not trying. It's not new puppy love. Like we're married and we're just making it work, and we love each other very much. But I just am not into schmaltzy big dinners. I like to decorate for Valentine's. I like to say sweet
You're
things.
not into big dinners. Well, yeah.
Well, I like big dinners. I just don't want it to be at a forced time when everyone else is there. Like, I just don't like being beholden to whatever. So I said to my husband, look, let's just go to a movie. The Alamo Draft House has a lot of great
Love that place.
food options. We can just have dinner and a movie out, so I won't feel like we didn't do anything.
It was just a 3.3 magnitude, nothing big.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm glad. So I was like, let's just go to a movie. It's easy. We'll have dinner out technically, and I won't feel like we missed out on Valentine's. So I made this decision a week or two ago. Movie theater. So I've picked the only non-Paddington Bear adult-looking movie. Which it turns out, which I didn't realize at the time, I booked the movie. I noticed one person had booked a seat in the middle. This is the evening of Valentine's. Keep in mind, I'm advance buying the ticket. And the movie turns out is about a married couple pursuing a threesome. And
Oh,
so, being the person that I am, I suggest to my husband, why don't we buy the tickets on either side of this person who's decided to go on Valentine's evening by themselves and sit in the middle of the theater? And he was like, absolutely not. We're so creepy. So creepy. So what do?
you
I
do
buy,
it anyway.
I buy the seats immediately behind them just so I can get a look
Oh,
at who this person is. And I made a mental note of where they're sitting in front of us. And I'm just going to bet you dollars to donuts it's a dude.
yeah.
But
And
who knows if it's a lady? No, I'm kidding. I mean, I just was like so taken with the idea of sitting on either side and then like talking over them and being like, oh, hey.
What? No, wait. Was it a man or a woman?
I won't know until we see the movie. But
Oh,
I was
okay. It's Valentine's Day. Yeah, we haven't reached
oh
Valentine's.
yeah, but I was like, why don't we do that? I like that he immediately was like, no.
That's the way I would be too. I was just like, come on.
Everybody needs someone in their life to keep them honest, and let me tell you, that is my husband.
Yep.
Because that honestly would have been super awkward, but in my mind, hilarious.
Well, that is a great closeout to the show. And so the next
Yes.
time the next show, you're gonna have to tell us who it was and what it was.
Yes, and I guarantee you 99% chance of
It's a
it being
guy.
true. But
Yeah.
I like the fact that I don't know, and I like the fact that I am for sure gonna just do like a creepy little like, hey,
Hey.
yes.
You're trying to check to see if it would have worked out, maybe. But anyway, on that note,
All
on
of
that,
you watching, you're our Valentines.
happy Valentine's Day to everyone. And
And
hey, 19,
yeah.
see you soon. Mwah.